Hey guys, it's Meyer Thoughts, and I've finally decided that it's time. This is a Tech Group Wipe Out Pistol Splat that I got about a week ago. Now, I make very nice splats. I do them in a unique way. I've had a lot of people ask me how I do them, and I finally decided that it's time to share. So this is going to be a write-up on the Tech Group Pistol Splat. Now, I know that there are a couple of different versions, and I'm going to do my best to kind of cover the differences of these versions in this mod guide. But I think that across the board with the mods that I do, you can expect to see at least a 10-foot range increase over a basic couplering and CPVC barrel job. So, to start off with, I'm going to do a quick firing demonstration of it before I mod it. I have some Nerf micro darts, whistlers, whatever you want to call them. Now, I'm not positive on the exact ranges, but I would suspect that this splat is shooting these darts about 50 feet. I'd say that's about the average distance that these darts are flying. So, 50 feet is kind of what we're looking at as a stock blaster, and I will do one of these again to give you guys an idea of the increase in power after I'm done doing the mods. Alright, to start off the mod guide for this, the Wipeout Pistol Splat, or any pistol splat really, you're going to need some materials. So I'm going to go over the material list real quick because there's a lot of different things that you're going to need. Now, keep in mind that even though there's a lot of different things you need, the total cost for this mod is going to be about $8. And you'll have enough materials to make 2 pistol splats. So, with that in mind, here's what you're going to need. Now, we're going to CPVC coupler it, so that means you need a 1/2-inch CPVC coupler. Also going to need a stub of CPVC. As long as it's longer, then it will insert into the coupler. It doesn't matter how long it is. In addition to the couplering, we're going to replace the plunger head because, to be honest, the stock plunger head is awful. So to do that, you're going to need a bunch of different things. You're going to need rubber washers. Now these are 7/16 by 1. You want at least 3/8 by 1. I guess if you could find a 1 by, what's the inner diameter of this one? 1/8, that would work too, but chances are you're not going to find that. So these are kind of what you want. For the inside of those washers, you need some number 8 flat washers to go inside a nest. They don't really sell in small packs, so you just have to kind of buy a large one. To cover both ends of the rubber, you're going to need some 3/4 by 1/8 washers like these. You need 2 of them. You only need 1 of the rubber washers. Then, to thread it all through, you're going to need a number 6 bolt that's at least 3/4 of an inch long. Also going to need number 6 nuts to finish it. So that is what you need for the plunger head replacement. Now finally, I also add a buffer spring. You don't have to do this, but this will add more power. The buffer spring I use is this from Home Depot. It's a 3-spring pack. We only need the larger spring, I believe. So, you can buy this. This is like, I think it's $3.50 or $3.70 or whatever at Home Depot. That's what you need. Now, in addition to your parts that you're going to need, you're also going to need a couple of materials. You need a Dremel. I guess you don't need a Dremel, but it's really going to make this easier. You could substitute a drill for part of it, but you have to have some sort of rotary power tool. You just have to have it. You need a cutting bit, or I'm going to use a cutting bit, a conical bit, and this kind of drill bit. You have to have a drill bit of some sort. You just have to. In addition to that, you're going to need some adhesives. You could use whatever you want. But I'm going to use plastic epoxy. I'm also going to use some goop. So that's the materials list. I'm going to show you now how to open this up. And we're going to go from there. Okay, so there are 9 screws in this blaster, and each one is identical. They all look like this silver screw. And don't worry, because of the way I cut down this blaster, you should have a couple of extra screws remaining if you lose 1 or 2. Now get this blaster open, you have to unscrew all the screws, but then there are also 2 parts glued in. There's this front piece, and there's also the top slide. The sight. If you were working with a paintball version, there would just be a piece that you use to attach the hopper. Now, if you wanted to preserve the aesthetic of the blaster, you would boil this off, but for this mod, I actually cut the shell right at this line, pretty much. So, this will all come off anyway, so I just cut through it. Once you do that, your blaster will come apart, and you have all of your parts. You need to remove pretty much everything. Don't mess with the priming slide, that can stay. Don't mess with this gray piece or spring. Don't need to mess with this, which is part of the firing system. The trigger will probably come out, and make sure you're going to take the catch out. Make sure that when you do, you don't lose the catch spring. So this is the spring and spring rest. You can leave those as one piece. This is the plunger rod. This is the head that we're going to get rid of. This is the plunger tube. Now you'll notice that there is a buffer spring inside. Put that in your spring box. We are not going to use it again for this mod. This is going to be the next thing that we visit. The plunger tube. After that, you can take out the catch. Again, make sure you don't lose this catch spring. Then you're going to have to slide out the priming handle a little bit so you can take this bar out. Oops. Which attaches to this front here. And I will probably need to cut through the other half of this to get this out. I didn't think I had to, but I think I do. So I will do that as well. This spring is the same spring that was in the plunger tube as a buffer. You can also put that in your parts bin. Alright, so real quick before I continue with this mod, I'm going to do some ergonomic modifications, I guess, real quick, and some cleaning up of the shell. Now, when you hold the shell, there's a couple of things that get in your way. This nub right here, it's a screw post, this bottom, like, little attachment handle, and this front piece. They're all going to come off. Now, again, you don't have to do any of this, but I feel ergonomically, it feels much better in your hand, and it's much easier to use if you do this. So I'm going to do that real quick and show you what it looks like after. Alright, so now that I've cleaned up the shell, it now looks like this. As you can see, I've taken off the front, I've taken off this screw post, and I've also taken off this back nub. It just makes it much nicer to hold, and it will make it much easier to load your barrels into while you use it at the war. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you leave this front plate. Very important to keep that. You're going to have to enlarge this later to let a coupler fit, but just leave it for now. We'll get to that when we get to it. The next part of the mod that I'm going to do is we're going to work on the plunger tube. Now basically, the best way I've found to do this is you can see there's a rubber piece right here, and that needs to go for the to put the coupler on. What I basically do is I take this Dremel with the conical bit, I speed it up, and I'll put it in and Dremel out the inside of the hole until I can fit the entire conical bit in. My main goal is to get rid of this entire post. Once I get rid of that, I switch to the cutting bit and use that as a grinder to grind down the rest of the rubber. You may find that you can peel this rubber off easily. If you can do that, I would recommend it, but chances are you're going to find that it's glued and doesn't want to come off. So that's why I do this. I am going to show you what that looks like when I'm done. Now, while you're dremeling this, before I go, you are dremeling just a large enough hole so that this CPVC will fit snugly. You don't want it to be loose. It needs to be snug. So don't make a hole any larger than that. Keep it as round as possible.